All right, let's talk about something huge. The entire economic map of the world. It's being completely redrawn right now as we speak. So today we're going to try and figure out what this new map actually looks like, and more importantly, what it means for you and me. For most of our lives, the global economy had this one simple rule. Everything just got more and more connected. Think about it. Goods, money, ideas, everything was flowing freely across borders. Well, that whole era of predictable, easy globalization, it's done. The old rulebook is basically in the shredder, and what's coming next is, well, a lot more uncertain.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? Are you ready for what's coming? Because this isn't just about some distant headlines or abstract theories. This is about the economic world we're all going to be navigating for years, maybe even decades to come.
Okay, so what is actually happening here? Well, the folks at the central banks have a fancy term for it, geoeconomic fragmentation. I know, it sounds a little academic, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple and kind of scary. The global economy is literally fracturing. It's breaking up into pieces, right along geopolitical fault lines.
And look, this isn't just a hunch or some vague feeling. We can actually measure this stuff. The level of geopolitical risk right now is a massive 50% higher than the average we've seen since the financial crisis. Think about that. The very ground we're standing on, economically speaking, is shifting.
So let's really break down this geoeconomic fragmentation thing. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine the global economy was one giant, super efficient highway system. Everything moved fast. Now picture that highway getting ripped up and replaced with a bunch of disconnected local roads. Suddenly you've got roadblocks, new tolls, and checkpoints everywhere. That's what's happening. That's fragmentation. What this really signals is a huge change in what everyone's prioritizing. The old world, it was all about one thing: efficiency. How do we make things cheaper and faster with global supply chains and low trade barriers? But this new world, it's all about security. It's about sticking with your friends in regional blocks, de-risking from your rivals, and protecting your own backyard, even if it's way more expensive. It's a total rewrite of the global playbook.
Okay, but these big, global shifts, they're not just abstract concepts for economists to debate. They create real ripples that end up hitting us right where we live. So let's zoom in a bit and see how these giant geopolitical moves turn into actual local pain.
And I'm not just talking theory here. You can literally see the stress fractures in the system right now. Let's take a look at a real-world case study. A perfect example, actually. What's happening in the German retail market?
This chart, this is what economic pressure feels like for regular people. When you're worried about the future, what do? You change how you spend your money. You still have to buy food, so that's up a little bit. But the non-essentials, the nice-to-haves like new clothes, spending on fashion has cratered, down a whopping 11%. People are slamming the brakes on their spending.
And of course, when people stop spending, businesses are the first to feel that pain. In Germany, they're expecting about 260 large companies to go insolvent this year. To put that in perspective, that's nearly double the number from just 2 years ago. That is a massive red flag for corporate distress.
And here's the number that really hits home for everybody: a painful 4% drop in real annual wages. Let me translate that. Even if you got a pay raise, once you factor in inflation, your money buys you less stuff than it did last year. It's an incredible squeeze on family budgets.
So, with all this tension and uncertainty swirling around, where can we look to see it reflected? Well, the financial markets are a pretty good place to start. They're like a fever chart for the global economy. So let's take a look and see what the temperature is right now. Check out this quote from a recent Schwab market update. What's traditionally one of the quietest trading days became more hushed this morning when a technical issue halted futures trading. This just captures the mood perfectly, doesn't it? The whole system is so on edge that even on a slow day, one little technical hiccup can nearly bring things to a halt. It just shows you how fragile everything feels at the moment. Okay, now this is really fascinating. If you look at the market's main fear index, the VIX, for right now, it's pretty low. It's telling us everything is calm. But if you look at what traders are betting on a few months down the road, they're expecting a storm. The VIX futures are way higher. So it's like we're looking at a perfectly calm lake, but all the sailors are busy battening down the hatches because they know a hurricane is on the horizon.
So when you see all this turbulence and nervousness in the traditional system, it's only natural that people start looking around for alternatives. And that's exactly what's fueling this other thing happening in parallel, an entirely new financial universe being built and stress-tested in real time. Yep, let's talk about crypto. Yeah, while the old established systems are showing all these signs of stress, this massive, kind of chaotic, but incredibly ambitious experiment is happening. A whole parallel financial world is being built and tested literally every single second, right out in the open for everyone to see.
And the pace of change here is just insane. You've got these new technologies called Layer 2s popping up to try and make everything faster. You've got the stablecoin wars, which is basically a battle to become the digital dollar. You've got constant high-stakes security crises in DeFi. And on top of all of it, a huge showdown is brewing with regulators around the world. It is the definition of rapid, chaotic evolution.
And really, this whole space is still having a massive identity crisis. It's fighting over its own soul. Who's going to run this thing? Big VCs or the little guy? What's more important, total privacy or playing by the government's rules? Is true decentralization even possible, or will there always be someone in control? These are the huge, unresolved questions that are shaping its future.
And yet, and this is the wild part, with all this internal drama and all the external chaos in the traditional world, Bitcoin's price has soared to over $91,000. What does that tell you? It signals that for a lot of people, the idea of an alternative is more attractive than ever before. You could call it a vote of confidence, or maybe it's just a desperate bet against all the other instability out there.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here, right? We've talked about a global economy that's fracturing, the real-world pain that's causing, financial markets that are getting super nervous, and this whole parallel crypto world that's bubbling up. So let's tie it all together. What does this all actually mean?
Here are the key takeaways. The big one, the global economy is breaking apart along geopolitical lines. That's not just theory, it's creating real economic pain for businesses and for you and me. As a result, financial markets are getting ready for more choppiness and uncertainty ahead. And against this crazy backdrop, crypto keeps growing and evolving as this potential alternative system.
And all of that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As we all try to navigate this new economic map with all its new lines and all its new rules, the real question is for you. In a world that's this divided, where are you going to place your bets for the future?